Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are talking about one of my most favorite topics ever: perseverance, persistence, pushing through when things are hard. However you want to describe it, y'all, this quality is so important, not just in business, but in life. Now, this is something that I'll be honest, I feel like I am naturally gifted at. In fact, it's almost a flaw. Like, I am persistent to a fault. I don't give up even when, I probably should give up. It's kind of like a dog with a bone. Like, I can't let things go. But I will tell you that being persistent and persevering in my life has been the number one quality of why I've been able to achieve anything I have. I work really hard and I don't give up, even when it's hard. Even when it's inconvenient, even when I have tons of challenges or obstacles, I still stick with it and I still push through. So maybe it's in my DNA. I've told you guys before, my mom is so persistent. So maybe I get it from her. Maybe I get it from just how I'm made and how God created me. I don't know where it comes for me, but I do know that even if it's not natural for you, this is a quality that can be learned. And I want to spend a few minutes in this episode teaching you about the importance of perseverance. It can have a huge effect in your life and your business. Now, I was reading about this the other day. I love to read, and there's a fantastic book, I've talked about it before, titled Grit, and it's by Angela Duckworth. Now, in this book, she is exploring, from a research perspective, this combination of passion and perseverance, and can it be learned, and where does it come from, and what sets people apart that just naturally tend to persevere more, and more than that, what type of effect and results does that have in your life over time? So she cites a study in one of the early chapters that was actually done at Harvard University years ago, and researchers wanted to understand what makes people persevere, and also how does that quality manifest itself later on in life? So they took a group of participants that were college students and they put them through a test. Now, in this specific scenario, it was a treadmill test. So already you're probably thinking, great, I'm not a runner, this doesn't sound fun. But they weren't really measuring running ability. What they wanted to understand was how much people would stick with a difficult challenge. So here was the test. They put all of the participants on treadmills, and gradually, over time, every couple minutes, they increased the speed and increased the incline. Now, if you've ever run on a treadmill, that means it gets harder. You're not only running faster, you're running faster uphill, and that hill is getting steeper and steeper and steeper. Well, they measured how long each person stayed on the treadmill. At what point did they hop off and say, I'm done, I can't do anymore? Here's what was fascinating about this study. The people that stayed on the longest, not necessarily the most fit, even though of course there is a correlation there, the people that didn't give up, even when it was really, really hard, that stuck with it as long as possible, they stayed on the longest amount of time as they tracked them throughout their entire life, had greater success than the others in business, in their marriage, in their finances, in their families, in their overall health, and every possible aspect of their life. So what they were really trying to understand is, how does this quality affect other areas of your life? It wasn't about the treadmill. It was about how persevering can pay off and how it can help you in multiple areas of your life. Now, even if you are not a naturally gritty person or a naturally persistent person, the good news is that this is a quality that can be learned. And it's a quality that you have got to have if you want to succeed in business. So let's talk about what it really means to persevere. Well, perseverance means that you keep going even when you didn't reach your goal. Even when you fell short of your goal, you still keep going. I'll give you guys an example. I set a goal in 2009 to run the country music full marathon, 26.2 miles. It's my first full marathon, to run the country music full marathon in 4 hours. Now, I do want to point out that I set this goal based on my training times. I didn't just make up a number that was a pie in the sky goal that was totally unrealistic for my training or fitness level. Yes, it was my first marathon, but I knew how to run the calculations that if I ran a certain pace in my training runs, I should be able to run that pace on race day. In fact, I should be able to run even faster. And everything was lining up so that on race day, I was going to run a 4-hour marathon. Now, what I didn't see coming was that in 2009, on the day of the Country Music Marathon, it was one of the most unusually hot days Nashville has ever had. So for 4 months of training, I trained in cold weather. And then on race day, it was over 85 degrees. In fact, y'all, true story, people were passing out. Race goals were out the window and people were just trying to survive. About 15 miles in, my goal was shot. I was so off track from my goal. I was just trying to finish. I walked at every water station. I dumped water on my head. I drank as much water as I could. I walked for at least a minute every single mile, and I just tried to get through it. So my goal was out the window. I was not going to run a 4-hour marathon, but you know what? I also wasn't going to quit. Just because I fell short of my goal didn't mean I was going to give up entirely. I still stuck with it, and I still finished, by the way, 26.2 miles in my first of multiple other full marathons. And it, of course, started my love of running and being a marathon runner. So persevering means that you stick with it and you push through even if you didn't meet the goal that you had in your mind. Now, goals are important. Goals push us. Goals help us achieve more than we ever thought was possible. But just because you fall short doesn't mean you haven't accomplished anything. It just means you fell short. In fact, I have a goal setting tool, if that would be helpful for you guys. You can use this goal setting tool to help you set goals and hopefully stick with those goals. You can get that free goal setting tool by texting bbgoals to 33444, or of course you can always get it in the show notes for this episode. So download that because it's a tool that will help you reach your goals. But even if you don't reach your goal, it still means that you stick with it and keep going. Or what about if you just completely fail? Like, let's say it's not just I fell short, I just fell on my face. What about those scenarios? I can tell you guys, I've talked about this before, but I had a speaking event years ago where that happened to me. It was what I would categorize as a failure. It was a complete disappointment to me, probably to the audience as well. And I cried the entire 6-hour drive home from this event in my rental car. And do you know what I told myself the whole way home? Never again. Never again. I will never speak again. I will never walk on another stage. I will never put myself out there to be embarrassed or to fail or to fall on my face in front of everyone, by the way. Never again. Now, thankfully, that pain did not last and I persevered instead. Instead of listening to the pain, I decided to be persistent in that moment and I did walk on another stage. I got back on the horse, as you will, and I've had this incredible speaking career of growing and learning and becoming better because I learned from that failure. But that's really another aspect of perseverance. It's not just about falling short of your goal and still going. What if you fall completely on your face and you fail? Well, guess what? You still go. You just keep going. You push through, you get up, you dust yourself off, and you try again. Persevering means that you keep going even if someone doesn't like you, even if they don't get it. They don't get your idea or your business or your product or your dream or your vision. They don't get it at all. So what? Perseverance means you keep going anyway, even if you get negative speaking reviews or negative book reviews or negative product reviews or negative customer service reviews. And by the way, I have gotten all of those and more, but it doesn't mean you stop. It doesn't mean you give up. It doesn't mean you're not cut out for this. It doesn't mean there's not a place for your dream or your business or you in the marketplace. Perseverance, means you keep going anyway. You stick with it. Through the 1-star reviews, through the haters, through the critics and the complainers, you just keep going. You know, there was an amazing interview I listened to on a podcast. I'm a big fan of Jenna Kutcher and the Gold Digger podcast, and she interviewed this woman named Natalie, and she has a business called The Painted Press. It's an Etsy. It started on Etsy, and she's become insanely successful on Etsy, and it was so interesting because hearing Natalie talk, and Natalie has a multi-million-dollar business at this point, hearing her talk about her first negative review, she said she went home on this podcast interview. She said she went home and talked to her parents, and she said, I guess I'm supposed to close. I guess I can't do this. I'm not supposed to have this business. And her mom and dad said, what do you mean? One negative review, one negative person is going to make you give up on your dream. And they grabbed her by the shoulders and, shook some sense into her, and she kept going and persevering anyway. But a lot of times all we hear are the negative comments. All we hear are the one-star reviews. All we think about are the critics or the complainers, and it makes us want to give up. But you know what? That's one voice among many that you're actually helping. I love how Dave Ramsey talks about this because, for example, The Total Money Makeover has been a best-selling book for over a decade. It's sold millions and millions of copies. It has thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews. And if you were to go into Amazon, for example, and look up The Total Money Makeover and look up the reviews, there are endless 5-star reviews. But there might be one or two 1-star reviews. And the way that Dave describes this is, if you are a 1-star review on a book that has sold millions and millions of copies and helped millions and millions of people get out of debt and change their family tree, and has millions and millions of 5-star reviews, if you are the 1-star review, you know what you are? Wrong. By definition, you are wrong. The entire world sees how valuable this is, and you don't. I'm sorry, friend, you're wrong. You don't get it. But it doesn't mean that you're going to give up on all the people that need what you have to offer and need the difference that you are making in their life because one person is loud or one person is grumpy or one person left you 1-star review. Perseverance means you push through even when people are mean or negative, even when they don't get it, even if they think you're crazy. Now, there is wisdom in counsel from other people. You want good ideas, but if you really believe in this thing, if this thing really matters to you, then other people might not get it, and that's okay. They might not get it because it's not their dream. They might not get it because it's never been done before, because God's going to do something through you that he's never done through anyone else. So of course, no one else gets it because he's not doing it through them. Think of how many successful people thought they were crazy when they started. Think about it. How many people today, we are like, oh my gosh, they're a huge success. They're a household name. They're changing the world. They're innovating. They're disrupting the business world. And when they had their idea, everyone thought they were crazy. Why? Because it'd never been done before. But it didn't mean it couldn't be done. And so even if people think you're crazy, still push through. Perseverance means pushing through, even if people don't get it, even if people think you're crazy. Another example of people thinking that someone is crazy is because maybe for them, that thing seems impossible. In fact, let's be honest, maybe for you it seems impossible, but there's something in you that believes. There's something in you that wants to try and test and step forward and see and go for it, even if it's never been done before, even if it seems impossible. I have a lot of good at running examples, as you can tell with my marathon examples, but let's think back to the 50s. Okay, I've used this example before. Before 1954, no human being had ever run a mile in under 4 minutes. The 4-minute mile was this unbelievable barrier that no human being in the world had ever broken. And many had tried. They had never broken it. In fact, by this point in history, in the 50s, about 1954, doctors actually told people, and everyone believed, that the human body could not run a mile in under 4 minutes. They believed that pushing your body that fast for that distance, you would die. Like your body was not capable of producing that type of performance at that point. So of course, a lot of people didn't try. Because why? Because it was impossible. It couldn't be done. It couldn't be done until May 6th, 1954, when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. And guess what? He didn't die. He did the impossible. He did something no one had ever done before. He persevered and tried and went for it and believed, even though there was no proof around him that that could be done. Even when the experts told him it could not be done, he went for it anyway. He persevered, and he was the first man to ever break the 4-minute mile. But you know what's so fascinating about that? Later that year, it was broken again. And since then, the 4-minute mile has been broken 500 times, and that number is growing. Now, as a matter of fact, it's kind of the standard to break the 4-minute mile. What couldn't be done 60 years ago, now is the standard for running, for performance. But you know what? It was all because someone persevered. But then once he did, once he showed it was possible, imagine the amount of people that then went for it, that tried, that followed in his footsteps, literally and figuratively, and went for breaking the 4-minute mile. They persevered all because he believed it was possible. He persevered even when there was no proof around him. You know, another example, and I've shared this story on my Business Boutique podcast before, Christy and Shanda Bell. They are the creators of Elf on the Shelf. Elf on the Shelf, as you know it today, is one of the largest product-based companies at Christmas time. It's a brand. It's everywhere. It's in every household everywhere. We all get our little elves out at Christmas time, and we all have the tradition with our kids. We love it week 1. By week 2, we're ready to kill the elf. That's a side point. This is an amazing product and story and idea. And they were turned down by 14 different publishers. They had their idea, but no one got it. They had their dream and their product and their business, but no one understood it. People thought they were crazy. One publisher, the expert, by the way, told them it was destined for the bargain bin. Who's laughing now? They published that little story themselves, and it has grown into today what is a national, worldwide brand and product that kids absolutely treasure at Christmas time. Sometimes perseverance means pushing through even when people don't get it, even when it's impossible, even when there's no proof around you that the thing can be done. Perseverance also means pushing through when you want to give up. It's not just about everyone else thinking you're crazy. Sometimes you want to give up. Sometimes, let's just be honest, y'all, you're down and out. The critics are loud. You have no proof to even hang on to that this thing will work. And everything in you goes, are you crazy? Maybe they're right. Maybe you're crazy. Maybe there's no room for you. Maybe this can't be done. 4-minute mile, it can't be done. There's no proof it can be done. This little elf on the shelf, the experts, they know what sells. I just want to give up. No one sees it. No one gets it. No one's buying. No one's visiting my website. You know what perseverance is? It means pushing through even when you want to give up, even when you've lost belief, even when you don't feel confident, even when you don't feel persistent, even when you don't feel like pushing through. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you dust yourself off, and you keep going anyway. You know, Cordia Harrington is a friend of mine, and she has this national bun company. It's the highest producing bun, bread, and baked goods company in the nation. Her main client is McDonald's. She also has KFC as a client and multiple others. I want to point out that Cordia Harrington had this idea for producing the buns for McDonald's long before they ever signed on as her client. In fact, they told her no 42 times. 42. Y'all, I am persistent, but 42, I would have probably given up around 20, maybe 25 if I was just feeling like I had a lot of gusto, like I tell my son Carter. But 42 times. And then they said yes. And now she is the exclusive producer of all baked goods for McDonald's and other national chains. Do you think that perseverance was worth it? Yeah, she saw her idea through and it paid off. But oh, the years she had to push through. Oh, the amount of no's that she had to push through. The amount of doubt and disbelief from other people and herself that I'm sure she had to battle in that journey of getting to the yes. But I promise you, when you get to the yes, when you get to the light at the end of the tunnel, when you get to the breakthrough, when you get to see the success realized in your real life, it is so worth it. But what's going to get you from doubt and disbelief to feeling that success is perseverance. That's what fills that gap. Perseverance and a whole lot of hard work. You know, Thomas Edison had 1,000 failures, and I love what he says. He says, I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work in creating the light bulb. He failed thousands of times, and he said, oh, I didn't fail. I just found lots of ways that don't work. It's all in how you view it. You know, perseverance means that you keep going even when it's hard, even when it's discouraging. It means you keep going even when you're embarrassed to show your face. It means you keep going even when the reviews suck and the critics are really, really loud. It means you keep going anyway, even if that failure or flaw or fall down scarred you to the core. It means you keep going anyway. And I know that it would be so much easier to just pack up and go home. So I'm going to take my toys home. I'm done playing this game. I know that that's easier, but that's not what's going to make you win. What's going to make you win is persevering. What's going to make you win is staying on the treadmill, even when you're sweating, even when your legs are burning and you think, I can't go another step. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, sister. You can keep going so much further than what you think you can. You are capable of so much more than you think you are. Perseverance means you keep going anyway. I want to give you some examples of people that have kept going anyway, that when you see them now, they're a huge success, but you probably don't know some of the failures and setbacks they had to persevere through. For example, at 23, Oprah was fired from her first reporting job. At 23, Tina Fey was working at a YMCA. At 25, Hilary Swank was paid $75 a day for her role in Boys Don't Cry. At 28, J.K. Rowling was a single parent living on welfare. Carey Mulligan was rejected from every drama school she applied to. Vera Wang started out as a figure skater who failed to make the U.S. Olympic figure skating team. After college, Jewel was living out of her car. Kristen Wiig worked odd jobs before landing at Saturday Night Live. She worked at a hot dog stand, a farmer's market, and a floral design studio. Lucille Ball was 40 when I Love Lucy became a hit. You know, I love the quote by Winston Churchill where he says, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts." That's what perseverance is, and that's what it's all about. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to download my free goal setting tool to get started on your goals, you can click the link below.